And I want to cover the last section of this LINC's Learning Block 7, which is customer service operations. I actually started my mid-career. I switched from quality to customer service. As the company I worked for, their quality problems were not in the product, so to speak, but more so in their ability to process and place orders effectively. So we had an improvement initiative in customer service. Customer service operations turned into customer service and logistics, which then became supply chain management. So the second half of my career, a turning point, was when I took over customer service operations in Latin America division of Colgate-Palmolive. So we're going to talk about customer satisfaction, which obviously should be the top priority of every company. We want to talk about how customer service excellence is used to achieve satisfaction and loyalty. And even with internal customers or work within a company, you want that same attitude. The immediate recipient of your work should be considered as a customer and kind of treated as such to the best of your ability. Employees in customer service are ambassadors for their company for the most part. The touch points for many fast-paced consumer goods are the sales rep touches the customer. The customer service people interface with customers. And then the last person that interfaces with the customer is the truck driver who delivers your good to the customer warehouse, and they're not even your employee often. They're a third-party employee. So you only have really two touch points with your company, and one is this customer service operation, the fulfillment of orders. So obviously the elements of customer service are time, dependability, communication, convenience, and a set of measures that we use. Okay, so let's go through this. We talked about this customer service and satisfaction being a top priority of every company. And we talked about the differences between internal customers and external customers. We also talked about employees as ambassadors of their company. They're maybe not presenting the first impression, but they're certainly providing an impression. And they develop working relationships with the customer and communicating personally and electronically almost on an ongoing basis. Now, when I talk about this kind of customer service, I'm talking about business to business for the most part. I'm not talking about business to consumer like an Amazon would be, but more like a fast-paced consumer or high-volume consumer products company, like a Procter & Gamble, a Lever, Nestle, Colgate, Kellogg, those kinds of companies. So, and we also talked about the components of this: time, dependability, communication, convenience. Let me tell you right now, on time and complete deliveries is how everybody measures this. So when we say who is the customer, within an organization, here they say any member of your organization who relies on assistance from another to fulfill his job or duties. That person is kind of his internal supplier. So that internal supplier needs to view that person as a customer. Sales representatives rely on customer service reps to place the order in an accurate and timely manner. Well, that's kind of old because the order is kind of all done electronically now in ERP systems. So the sales representative relies on the customer service people and the distribution people, the warehouse and distribution people, to make sure that the order is effectively handled and delivered on time and complete. Excuse me. External is someone who uses your company's products or services but is not part of your organization. Okay. Sometimes, but basically not always, it's whoever buys your product. So you have to look at the difference when you look at external customers. You have the person that you're actually, or the entity that you're actually selling the goods to is your customer. that might not be the final purchaser of the product. So if I sell cereal to Walmart or Target is my customer. But it's the person that's with their hands on a shopping cart that is the last customer of the product, that picks it off the shelf and puts it in their shopping cart and pays money for it. They take it home. They might not be the end consumer. Think about this. If your fast-paced consumer products company sells dog food, PetSmart is obviously your customer. The pet owner that comes into PetSmart and buys a bag of your dog food or a box of your dog food or a can of your dog food. I don't have a dog, so I'm not familiar with how it actually comes, but I think they come in sacks. Is the end customer. They are the actual purchaser of it. But the consumer of your product is not even a human. Same applies to babies, same applies to whatever the product may be. Okay. And what they're trying to say here is, this is a chain, and everybody's got to kind of do their job or the customer ends up not happy. I guess that's the point of that graphic. So it's a key competitive advantage and is part of every interaction with a customer. Sometimes customer service has gotten so good in the B2B part that it's easy to call it a must-be quality factor at this point. You only notice when it's bad. And I think for a large part with the sophisticated consumer products companies, that's probably the case. I have an experience right now where I'm ordering 2 similar products from 2 not Amazon companies. And in this COVID time, there are products that I'm looking to buy that are in great demand. One of them is completely unorganized. Their order tracking and communication with me is really scant. The other one is night and day different. It's more like Amazon. We acknowledge receipt of your order by email. Your order is being processed. Your order has been shipped. Here's the tracking number. Let us know if there's any issues. That's kind of like the standard Amazon has set. But the other company is like, I don't know, a competitor that looks like a Amazon-like company will grind into the ground. So, excellent customer service practices focus on the fastest and most efficient ways to support customers. They're the ones that pay your bills. If an order is the lifeblood of your company, and it is because your ability to, one, sell product is important, and then having, the right product in the right place at the right time in the right quantities is critically important to be able to then fulfill that sale. And let's let that call go. Well, let me just say, I'll have to call you back.
Okay.
All right. This is my sister calling for Easter. So customer service starts with the interaction before sale and continues all the way through the sale and purchase. Now, obviously, it flip-flops after the purchase and after the delivery of the product because oftentimes customers don't want to pay you on a timely basis, and all of a sudden you're the customer because you want receipt, you want your cash, you want your payment so that you can operate effectively. So customer service encompasses every interaction a customer has with the company or brand, and it can take place in person, media, phone, email, chat, web form, whatever the case may be. So we talked already the difference between customer and consumer. Depending on where your customer sits in the supply chain, your company sits in the supply chain, the consumer may not be your purchaser. The consumer may not be the decision maker. When we talk about dogs and babies, they don't pick what they want. They tell their parents what they like and don't like by eating it or not eating the food that they provide. But it's the parent that actually buys the food from a grocery store, and if you're a baby food or a dog food manufacturer, you're selling to The grocery stores. So who is your customer? Who is your end customer? Who is your consumer? You always want to have that in mind. And you're trying to obviously satisfy all of them. When we're talking about customer here, we're talking about the people that are actually purchasing the product from you. So you need to know what that means. Customer service begins the first time a customer learns about a particular organization, product, or service, and they look at reviews, they look at word of mouth, they look at social media, they look at advertising, marketing, location. That happens less in the B2B and more in B2C, business to customer or business to consumer, and not so much business to business. They're not looking for advertising. Sometimes if I work in a company and I'm thinking about buying something new or branching off into a new manufacturing technique or something like that, I might look at advertising and to find out who does what well. But most of the time, it's you already know the players. So it is a nice cartoon. So this is your favorite restaurant? Yes, they recognize me. They remember what I like, and their service and food is always amazing. And then the restaurant says, we appreciate her business. She's so nice, you can count on her to come in every week. So know, like, trust, buy. That's kind of the model that you're looking at here. What are the customer expectations? They want dependability and consistency, both in the product that they're buying and in the product fulfillment, the order management, the order fulfillment. They like to have communication through each step of the process, like Amazon is a perfect example of that. We received your order, thank you. Your order is being processed, thank you. Your order has been shipped. Here's the tracking number. Let us know if there's any issues upon delivery. Okay, that's great customer service. That's great communication. And it all happens electronically and automatically. Convenience, ease of ordering, ease of communication. I don't know about Amazon. Amazon never have issues with them, so I have a hard time calling their customer service. But in the two companies I talked about, one, the poor customer service company, is really hard to get a hold of them. The second one, they're very responsive in answering questions. And they have online chat and all this cool stuff. So accurate information and orders. I mean, the nice thing about Amazon, the reason they have such great customer service, if they don't have it in stock, you know they don't have it in stock, and you know that you either, one, can't buy it, or you could buy it now, but it's going to be delivered in 3 weeks. And in this COVID time, there's many products that are on back order. I bought recently from Amazon a cut your own hair kind of barber tool. I figured it shouldn't be too hard. My hair is short. I basically get a buzz cut all the time. But there's a 2-month delay on that because guess what? Everybody's home in this pandemic and they're all looking to cut their own hair. So, but I knew that going in. Try to buy, antiseptic wipes on Amazon, tough. Try to buy other products on Amazon, plentiful. And you want timely communication and delivery. Amazon is pretty good at that. So I'm still looking at the other two companies I'm buying these products from to see how well they do. All right, internal and external customers. What's the similarities between them? You want to set clear expectations. You want to communicate. You want to align incentives. You want to understand the needs. You want to act and operate with civility and manners. Basically, you want to treat, the golden rule applies here as much as it does anyplace else in the world. The difference is external customers usually have a choice. If unsatisfied, they can take their business elsewhere. True. But even there's something different in the internal customer-supplier relationship. The relationship often flip-flops. If I'm the supplier of an internal customer, usually it starts with them supplying me the right information at the right time for me to be able to supply them with the right execution of whatever it is I do for them at the right time in the right manner. So the customer service relationship with internal customers often flip-flops. The role of customer and supplier at the beginning of the process might be flip-flopped, and then at the end flip-flop back again. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with what you deliver to someone else. Let's think in a factory. If you're producing part A, and then someone else producing part B, and you both give them to a third employee so that he can assemble them into part A plus part B and maybe some other stuff and create the finished product, that person that does assembly is your customer. If he doesn't let you know what he needs and the numbers that he needs and the quantities that he needs at the time that he needs, how do you know to do that? So there's that communication. The internal customer, the relationship flip-flops at the beginning when the order, quote-unquote, order is kind of placed. So that's the difference between internal and external. Customer service. Well, the customer service rep has to be trained in the following things. They have to understand the order process. In fact, they manage the entire order process. Once the sales order is given and logged, they are responsible for customer relationship management along with the sales rep. It's not exclusively the customer service manager. They are responsible for communications. They are responsible for returns and reverse logistics and challenging customers. They have to handle challenging customers and make them feel happier. And they have to have legal and regulatory, they have to obey and adhere to and comply with. So it's a compliance issue with legal and whatever legal and regulatory rules and laws govern whatever it is you're shipping. If it's hazardous material, for example, etc. So operations focused versus customer focused. Just doing my job by the book, just doing my job by the customer. Well, what's the difference? It's a priority, really. You want to do your job by the book, but you also want to make sure that the customer is happy. So the key service factors are, again, they're always talking about time. On time, as promised, dependability, safe, accurate, reliable, communication, before, after, proactive, convenience. Let's summarize that into two things: on time and complete deliveries as a measure, and communication mostly at key points, like Amazon does, or exceptions. The role of the customer service representative has moved a little bit with ERP systems from doing all the things we talked about. They're not tending the order process all the way through. They're managing exceptions that the ERP system brings to their attention. Oh, the credit check with this customer failed. Okay, the job then as a customer service agent is to call on, email, however they communicate with their customer, and say, you know, you haven't paid us in a long time. We're unable to provide you, you know, part of this bond, this customer-supplier relationship is based on we provide you goods in a timely, dependable manner, on time and complete, and you pay us. If you don't pay us, you've kind of broken that contract, and we're not going to supply you until you do. So that's a job, that's an exception. If they ordered 10 items and 20 of each of the 10 items, and that's their order. Well, if one of the items is not available right now, your job, that's an exception. You've got to call the customer and say, listen, we're not able to fulfill this part of the order. Can we put this substitute in place, or would you prefer to have it filled on the next order? It's an exception. And the way you do that is really defines the value of your customer service. So The order process is not just a customer service representative, though. It starts with the salesperson. The customer service rep is definitely in charge of it after the sales order is placed, but it also has a lot to do with the warehouse, and it has a lot to do with distribution, the people that schedule the trucking and make the appointment at the Walmart or Target warehouse for delivery. So it requires more people. Basically, once the order is placed, the customer service rep is kind of the quarterback, but it's a team effort. You know, suppliers are wholesalers, retailers, suppliers of materials, and the order cycle includes work directly involved in receiving and fulfilling customer orders. I think we made that pretty clear already. Normally, customers begin this cycle, which is then focused on fulfilling their demands. And normally customers begin this cycle with the sales rep who actually works with the customer to place the order. And oftentimes the orders are staged in sequence and placed automatically upon an agreement between your sales rep and their purchasing agent or merchandising agent. So the order cycle. Order process is receiving and processing orders, managing customer relationships, and fulfilling orders. So you have a customer inquiry, the order is received, the order is processed to make sure that everything on the order is accurate. The shipment is, the order is then released to the warehouse where all the goods are collected and staged at a dock door to be loaded on a truck. And then that truck is scheduled to pick up that order, maybe with other orders, and deliver that order to an agreed upon and scheduled delivery time at the warehouse of the customer. And then you have after sales support if there's any issues. At each point, what was ordered, what are the items ordered, and what are the quantities? Do you have them all? And you're preparing the shipment. Before you put it on a truck, you count exactly what you think is on there, and you enter it into a bill of lading. When it gets to the customer, sometimes what was shipped is not what arrives, and that usually means something is missing. It could be that famed shrinkage that we talk about, which could be some theft or robbery, who knows. And then you have the after sale, and that's where, like, that after sale support is like, hey, listen, you said you shipped this, we got this. There's a discrepancy, so we've got to do after sales support. And oftentimes a lot of this is done electronically. Walmart will just ding you and fine you if you have a discrepancy on what you say you sent and what you actually sent. And they will even fine you if you don't deliver them what they order. Why can Walmart do that? They're the 800-pound gorilla in the relationship. They are, for most consumer goods companies, responsible for 30, 40, 50, 60% of their sales. So Walmart will put you in a headlock, punch you in the face, and say, are you enjoying the partnership that we have? And you say, yes, it was really great. I really appreciate it. So there's teamwork involved in all of this. And it's your people and the customer people, and there's communication involved. So if it's made to order or engineered to order, these are two different things. You receive the order is received and validated. The product is designed based per the customer's request. The manufacturing process begins and the product is delivered. So this is a custom kind of item. Or items that are so expensive or so small in sales that you don't actually store them in inventory. You don't actually make one until you actually have an order for it. Engineered to order. I guess looking at a Kickstarter type campaign here, you get some funds from Amazon available. Engineering designs completed. Your manufacturing order is placed. Tooling is completed. Approved samples and manufacturing completed, assembly completed, shipped from the supplier, and then shipped to the backers. If we think about it now, if we look at this engineered to order, let's assume that all the makers of ventilators in this COVID time are operating 24/7 and not able to fulfill the demand. I mean, ventilators are, been a staid product. We've kind of known the demand for them has been kind of steady and kind of predictable. A new hospital is built. You get some new ventilators. As ventilators break or wear out, people order new ventilators. All of a sudden, the demand has spiked. The current manufacturers can't keep up with it. So you're looking at getting General Motors, which makes cars but aren't making very many cars right now, to then all of a sudden start producing ventilators for hospitals. Well, they've got to go through all this. They don't have to worry about Kickstarter. They don't have to worry about funds from Amazon, but they've got to finish the engineering designs. They've got to, if they have to buy any tooling or manufacturing equipment or tooling to make these products, they need to place the orders for those. And when the tooling is completed, you approve the samples, and then you start manufacturing. It could take 2-3 months for that to happen. It doesn't happen instantaneously. Just because you have a factory that makes engine parts doesn't mean you can make ventilators. So they might even design to use their current machinery in a different way, but not all machinery can be used. So this is actually kind of timely for right now. Okay, what is the perfect order? Well, we've been talking about it all along in this class. The right product to the right customer at the right time, at the right place, in the right condition, in the right quantity, at the right cost. Errors are cumulative. Companies may define their perfect order requirements differently. What I would think is a perfect order or an on-time complete order that I'm shipping it to Walmart or Target may not satisfy their needs. I'm interested in, did it ship on time from my warehouse to be on time at Walmart? Walmart is looking at on time when it arrives at their dock door, or maybe when it's unloaded at their dock door. I don't have control sometimes when it leaves my dock, and the trucking company, sure, they know how long it takes, and you've planned with the trucking company to make that delivery in the allotted time, but you have to, once it leaves my hands, it's out of my control. And if it requires an ocean trip from Asia to the US, you don't know what the ocean conditions are. You don't know when you get here if there's a port strike and you're delayed by a week. All of a sudden, the order that you shipped on time is no longer on time delivery to the customer. Now, the good thing about this all now is that there's electronic confirmation of everything, so everybody knows at the same time the customer measure and when it was delivered. So relationship management, how does this work? Awareness, consideration, purchase, retention, advocacy. These are the things that I guess you have to pay attention to in the relationship. Mostly when it's business to business, on time and complete deliveries at the agreed upon price. So customer relationships, adaptability. Different customers have different needs. So we already talked about business to business, B2B. We already talked about business to consumer, B2C. So you have all these different channels. You have an e-commerce channel, you have a brick and mortar retail channel. You would have a wholesale channel. That means you sell to another store. And you have direct mail. I'm not sure what the difference between e-commerce and direct mail is. I would imagine this is pretty small these days. Segmentation, different levels of service based on the service channel. And then they're evoking Pareto's rule. 80% of the profits come from 20% of the customers. 80% of the product sales come from 20% of the products. This is kind of deadly. It kind of really works this way. 80% of the complaints come from 20% of the customers. Except when it comes to advising. 20% of the students do take up 80% of your time. So I guess that works there too. So you have to look at this and decide how to handle each one of these. If you have multiple channels, how you handle them all differently. Brick and mortar stores are dealing with this right now. Here's another example. My local grocery store, Sunset Foods, is still open, thankfully. I can go to the store, mask, gloves, disinfectants in hand, walk through the aisles, pick what I want, check out. There's plexiglass now as a barrier between me and the cashier to prevent the spread of this virus. I pay for my goods and I leave. I'm thinking, let's eliminate me having to go in and be so close to other people. Why don't I order online and then I can just drive and they'll put the groceries in my trunk? Well, that's a different channel, right? One is the customer shops. I don't know what you call it here, but the customer shops and pays for their goods and leaves and does a selection. And the other one is I order it online. It's a kind of an e-commerce, but I will pick it up. And a store employee actually goes and collects all the goods. And I've already prepaid by credit card. And then the groceries are bagged and waiting for me at a specified delivery time. The problem is, with the shift from during this pandemic, more people want to do the curbside pickup than ever before. And you can't get an appointment for 2 weeks. So the workplace has to adapt. As this has shifted, they really have to take some cashiers and make them internal shoppers, or hire some more people to cover that. And if they could hire more people or move more people and create more appointments, I think a lot of people would be doing the e-commerce. And the only people that wouldn't are the people that either don't trust it or have an inability to use technology to make the order, like my mother-in-law or my mother. Okay, relationship management. This is a CRM. Customer relationship management is a concept and a software. It's usually part of an ERP system, so you keep track of, okay, if I have an issue with a customer, who should I call? I pull up their file. And you know, Ann McGrath is my customer, is my contact at that company. So I call her up and I say, Ann, we got an issue, or I email her, here's the issue with the order, blah, blah, blah. We need you to do this, that, the other thing. And Ann says, okay, thank you. We appreciate it. We'll probably still fine you because if they're Walmart, because it's actually a profit center almost for them, finding suppliers that can't make their deliveries on time and complete. Or, you know, but then there's other things they have to do. That's a B2B kind of CRM. But you can keep track of things. If CRMs do all kinds of things. They will keep track of every time you contact that person. You can write notes. What did we talk about? What was the thing? What was the agreement made? And then what was the follow-up date on something? And then the CRM system flags you on the day of the follow-up and says, oh, remember you said you were going to respond to Ann McGrath on Tuesday, the 14th. Don't forget to do that. Oh, thank you, CRM system. I really appreciate that. And it also might tell you other stuff, like if you had a little chit-chat time with Ann McGrath, and she had said, you know, I'm sorry I have to cut this call short. I'm going to the hospital. My mother was admitted for blah, blah, blah. Next time you talk to her, you can say, hey, Ann, here's the deal. We've fixed this order. Here's what we agreed upon. I would call you back this day, and here's the resolution to whatever it was you were working on. But it would also prompt you to, if you so choose, to ask, by the way, the last time we talked, your mother was in a hospital. Hopefully everything came out okay. And she would say yes or no or whatever, but would appreciate the fact that you're doing it. Or if it's her birthday and you know with her birthday and enter it in a CRM system, it will remind you of that. So you could even just give a call and say, happy birthday. You can't remember all of this stuff for all the people you deal with, but the CRM system will help you. Our own self-service advising software does something like this. It has a note function. Every time I talk with a student and advise them, I can say, okay, here's what we agreed to. Here's what you've got to do. Here's what I'm going to do. And I can write it in the notes, and then we can follow up with it the next time we talk. Oh, here's what we talked about last time. Did you actually apply for your major? Did you apply for graduation? Did you go take the language test? Did you, whatever the case may be. So CRM systems are good for all of that. They keep track of what you call. And also, if you have different customer service reps calling different customers, like if I'm a customer of the gas company or ComEd, and I have an issue with them, I call, well, this is Joe, I work for ComEd. Yes, Mr. Gavoor, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yes, we see this issue. We're working at it right now. We'll fix it, and blah, blah, blah. And let's say a week later it still hasn't resolved or whatever, and I call back, but I don't get Joe. I get Karen. And Karen says, oh, Mr. Gavoor, I see that 4 days ago you talked to Joe, and he said we were going to do this. There was an issue with that, or, was that not done? We can make sure we do it, or whatever the case is. So it's a way of tracking all the paper trail. Instead of a paper trail, you have an electronic trail of everything you've done. So a CRM system are very cool, and they're usually parts of ERP systems, and they could be, or you could use a third-party CRM system and integrate it into your existing ERP. So I think we beat this to death, kind of. So the goal is improved business relationships, which will result in greater customer retention, profitability, and sales growth. If you don't have a good CRM system, or you don't answer you could have the greatest CRM system in the world, but if it takes you forever to answer the phone and put people on hold for a long time, they don't care that you remembered it's their birthday if they had to wait 45 minutes for you to answer the phone. So a lot of companies are trying to minimize the amount of time that people have to wait. In fact, one of the best experiences I ever had was with the government, Social Security Agency. Currently, there is a 90-minute wait for a customer service rep, and my heart sank. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want to do that. You can wait, and then it gives you a choice of different kind of music to listen to while you're waiting. Or we can call you back at, and it repeats back the number that you called them on. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And then I go back and do whatever I'm doing, and the phone rings, and it says Social Security Agency. Oh, cool. I answer it. Is this a good time to talk? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Boom. I got an agent on the line, and I didn't have to sit there listening to the music or whatever. So I think those kinds of things all have to be integrated into your customer relationship management software and strategy. So if you look at this, you can follow around in the circle and look at it. You propose a quote, you negotiate, you close the order process, you define expectations, you deliver on expectations, and then you have support, collections and receivables. Remember, you got to get your money. And marketing, prospecting web. If you're trying to sell people more stuff, you got to make sure you got the quality in hand, and integrate. Sometimes I don't like these diagrams, but we went through the circle dutifully. The goal: improve business relationships and business performance. So CRM software. This is usually the example used in big data. But CRM software also collects point of sales data information from consumers. Analyze, identify improvements, execute, and measure. Focus. You get increased loyalty, new customer opportunities, new product opportunities, increased revenue, and increased profitability. This is the story about Target was using some of this consumer data, and they found out that women would buy certain creams, lotions, personal care items that were fragranced. Then they did an analysis that showed when, for a segment of women, at some point they stopped buying fragrance products and start buying unfragranced products. And then about 4 weeks after that, or more, they start buying baby products, diapers, things like setting up a nursery, all that kind of stuff. So they figured, gee whiz, this is pretty interesting. Why don't we, when we see someone switch from fragrance to unfragranced cosmetics and personal care items, why don't we put a little bundle of, hey, if you're having a baby, Target's your one-stop maternity center. And here's some coupons for diapers, here's some coupons for cribs, whatever else you need. Cotton swabs, bumper pads, blah, 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 little toys, whatever the case may be. And so some guy comes into the Target store one day, wants to speak to the general manager, and he reads him the riot act. He says, my 15-year-old daughter, what the heck do you send her this package of, offering all these baby products? She's 15 years old, for crying out loud. How can you do this to her? This is I'm mad as heck, and, blah, blah, blah. And the general manager says, that kind of stuff comes out from corporate. I don't know what happened, but I will look into it and get back to you. 3 days later, the same man calls up the general manager, and he says, this is Mr. So-and-so, and he goes, oh, yes, I remember. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. He goes, no, don't worry. My daughter told me she's pregnant. So Target figured out the girl was pregnant before her father did. And it's like the classic big data analysis story. And it fueled kind of like a surge of big data, interest in big data and implementation thereof. And it's the most cool model anybody ever talks about, because everybody can relate to this, but I wish there were some other models that we would talk about sometimes too. Communications. So it's a transfer of information. To be effective, you've got to be able to understand to whom you're communicating with and the message that you're communicating in the most appropriate form. Well, the only form that Amazon really thinks about and has mastered, they've decided all this is done by email, and most of it by by automation. I had a friend that got a wrong size jacket. Well, I ordered a new case for my cell phone. Great price, exactly what I wanted. They sent it, I never got it. I wrote them back. They said, okay, we'll send you another one. They did. Boom, I got it. 2 days later, my neighbor said, hey, they delivered it to the wrong house and brought it to me. I wrote Amazon back, and I said, do you want me to return it? And they said, no, just keep it. Why did they say that? Because Amazon, for them to take the good back and process it as a returned good and then restock it, probably cost them more than whatever profit they were going to make on it. So it would be a net loss. It would be a bigger loss than if they just said, forget about it, just keep it. A friend of mine had the same experience. He ordered his son ordered a Columbia jacket. It came in the wrong size. Amazon rarely makes those kinds of mistakes, but they called. They said, oh, we'll ship the right size out to you. Sorry about that. We'll send the other one back. No, don't even bother. Give it to somebody. Wow. So it's gotten to the point where Amazon is so efficient and they know what their costs are so much that they don't even want returns in some cases. So talking, video chat, phone, letter, IM, text message, and I'm not sure the difference between IM and text message, email, Facebook message, Facebook status, Twitter. I don't think any customers I'm not going to communicate with my customers through Twitter. I'm probably not going to do it through Facebook Messenger. I'm probably going to do it through email, some professional texting like Microsoft Teams. I don't know why, unless it's absolutely a legal necessity to send a letter, I'm still going to send an email. And we could do phone or video chat. And if it makes sense, have a face-to-face meeting. The last thing you want to do if you have a lot of customer service issues with Walmart is be called in for one of those face-to-face meetings. Those aren't pleasant. So effective communications. Who's the audience? What's the message? How are the tactics? How are you going to do it? Oftentimes, if you get someone on the phone, you want to listen and make sure you fully understand what is their motivation and why are they upset or why are they not happy with what you've done. So I would watch this YouTube. It's not bad. It's 23 minutes, but it's probably more interesting than my 23 minutes here. So let's talk more about reverse logistics. This is when products get returned to you. Not every company has products returned to them. We've talked a little bit about Amazon, but automotive companies have products returned to them all the time. Not full cars, but warranty items or items that need repair. Smaller companies that warranty their entire product may have you ship it back for repair, or will send you a new one and you send the broken one back so they can analyze it and fix why. The other kind of returns that you get is you launched a new product, Walmart bought a ton of it, it didn't sell well, they send it back, whatever didn't sell, they send it back to you. They say, this product was a bomb, we tried it, it didn't work, here's your stuff back. And they write a credit, themselves a credit, and expect you to give them a refund. And if not, they deduct it off the next order probably. Well, the problem with that is, in the container that's going back to your factory where this comes in, they will throw every bit of junk they want to get rid of in their store in your container. You can get a TV set that doesn't work. You don't even sell TV sets to Walmart. You don't even make TV sets, yet you get that back. So returns and reverse logistics can be a messy, dirty business. In fact, there's in any factory or any warehouse, the two most unorganized, cluttered, chaotic places are the returns area. And you've really got to be on top of it to make sure that that's done in an orderly manner and that you're not getting screwed by your valued customers who are just sending back, using you as a trash bin. And then the other is marketing has all kinds of materials, that they give away to valued customers and sales reps. And, right now we're giving gym bags away. If you place a big order for this month, if you place an order of this size, we'll give you this or that or the other thing. Or it might be a promotion like, a lot of cosmetics. Buy this fragrance and get a gym bag. Okay, so where does that stuff come from? It comes from your warehouse. And it's not a product you made, it's a product bought from a third party. And usually marketing sets the volumes for that stuff that you're going to have. And if it doesn't sell out, it just ends up in your hands. And that place can be a cluttered mess as well. So reverse logistics, unless you absolutely necessarily have to do it, I would avoid it like anything. But if you're a company that has to do it, or your customer insists on doing it to you because they're going to send you stuff, whether you have a policy to accept it or not. And if they're responsible for 20–30% of your business, you're probably going to accept it because you're not going to want to argue with your customer and make them fine you or whatever the case may be. So companies sell and distribute products have generally dealt with returns resulting from damages or other reasons such as incorrect shipments. Many companies have policies in place that allow customers to return exchange items if they're dissatisfied with their purchases for any reason. Well, there was a customer, a company, Bed Bath & Beyond, that would take anything back. I mean, it's incredible, and people realize that. Anytime, anywhere, anything. So people would buy like a Keurig machine, use it for 4 years, and then the thing would clog up and not stop working, and they would take it back to Bed Bath & Beyond and say, hey, I'm returning this. I'm no longer satisfied with it. And Bed Bath & Beyond would give them a new one. Now, they had a great policy, and as long as people kind of use some common sense in that policy, it was good for Bed Bath & Beyond. But when people realized you could return anything anytime and get a brand new one, that was crazy. I had a wallet I bought, I was from Neiman Marcus or Nordstrom. I think it was Nordstrom. My nieces bought it for me. I loved it. It was a great wallet. Beautiful. I used it. It wore out. I took it back to Nordstrom's, and I wasn't asking them to return. I just said, hey, listen, this wallet wore out. I loved it so much. I want to buy another one. And they said, buy? You don't have to buy. That thing's guaranteed. So they gave me a new one for nothing. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But you can't do that if everybody takes advantage of it and just uses a product for its normal life cycle and returns to get another one for free. You'll go out of business quickly. So customer service reps have to be skilled in dealing with customers wishing to return items. It's a touchy thing. And if you go into that part of the business, you've got to be part diplomat in this area. Now, returns and inventory sent from the customer to the supplier. You retrieve the goods, you transport them. It's just like an order, except it's going back to you instead of you to them. There's things you can do. When it gets there, it costs you money. That's why Amazon didn't care about getting my extra cell phone case back, because they had to inspect it. They had to sort it. They had to decide what to do with it, either put it back in stock and resell it, recycle it if possible. If it's broken, you scrap it, or whatever other thing you might do with it. Donate it. You might have to rework it to fix it. Seal the box. You see a lot of times when you buy electronics, an open box sale is exactly this kind of thing. So if you want to look at how much this is going to cost you. So what constitutes a return? Damaged or broken products that can't be resold, products that can't be resold after repair or repackaging, good products that can be resold, defective products, expired product, and a mess of other junk that you didn't expect to ever get back in such a container. And things that you thought were going to sell big, and you convinced the customer to buy it, and it didn't sell well in their store. So if you look at it, about 10% of apparel is returned. Well, I know why. My wife, if she goes out and buys something for me, she'll buy 2 different sizes and 3 different colors, and come home, try this on, try that on. Oh, I like this one. I hate that one. And then she returns the rest. Auto parts. 19% are returned. Well, I think that's mostly has to do with the warranty of that claims that are made at the companies. I can't believe it's that high necessarily these days. I thought quality was much higher. Beauty products, 5.2%. I liked it. I hated it. I don't like the smell. It wasn't the same as it was last time. Children's apparel is a little bit less than overall apparel. Department stores have 16.5%. Footwear is about 9%, and so on. And I guess women's apparel is about, I don't know what the difference between apparel, women's apparel, and children's apparel. I would blend all those numbers together, actually. Sporting goods is about 9%. So that the average amount there is 9%. I don't know how old this data is. It's 2014. But it's a significant part of many retail establishments. Right now, because of the COVID thing and everybody that hoarded products and all of a sudden realized they have way more stuff than that they're probably not going to use, try to return them. Most of the companies now have a no return policy, because if they return something, they have to disinfect it before they can restock it on the shelves, and it becomes too costly. So right now, almost all grocery stores have a policy of, hey, you buy it, it's yours. There's no returns. And then there's all kinds of reasons for returns. You want to code it, you want to keep track of it. This becomes a thing all of its own. If it's a warranty product and you're paying and you're replacing things for free, you want to track this as well as you possibly can so that you can do an analysis on it and find out if there's quality issues, design issues that you want to take care of and try to eliminate the returns as much as possible. So forward logistics, again, is you make the part, you assemble the parts, you send it to the point of consumption, the customer sends it back to you. You can, if you want to reuse it, you remanufacture it and send it back out. Or resell it again. If it requires repair, you get some parts and assemble it and go through there and forward it out to the customers in a resale. You want to remanufacture it. So you look at the modules and the assemblies that you need, and if it requires part fabrication, you do that and start the whole process again. So I don't know how valuable this diagram is, but I think this applies pretty much to automotive at this point. In many cases, some of this is more costly than just throwing it out. Maybe you do a little analysis to figure out what went wrong and then just toss it. Or sell it to a remanufacturer instead of remanufacturing it yourself and having them sell it as remanufactured goods. Okay, so they're spending way too much time on returns and reverse logistics. So how they're handled impacts the customer service levels either positively or negatively. If it clogs up, if you have too many returns, it clogs up your warehouse. The return process usually begins with customer service. If you think about Costco again, you go to that customer service desk a couple days after Christmas, there's a line out the store of everybody trying to return things or exchange things or do whatever. And if you're willing to wait in a line because you didn't like the color of the sweater, you can get the color sweater you want. So key metrics they talk about. And I think this is the most important part here. Disposition cycle time, quantity and value of the products reclaimed and resold, percentage of the material recycled, percentage of the material wasted, or the costs of waste and scrapping, and handling costs. These are all non-zero costs. And I would add another one. I would add getting stuff back in the container that's not even yours. I mean, we used to sit around and talk about, with warehouse managers, the stuff that they would get back and have a laugh about it over dinner. So, challenging customers. Good customer service is vital for virtually every company's success. Excellent customer service takes time and management leadership along with some positive employee energy, and you keep building on it. Challenging or defensive customers fall into the following categories. They can be angry or openly antagonistic and aggressive. They could lack good communication skills and ability to express their thoughts. So you got to figure out what exactly the problem is. They could be arrogant or supreme in attitude. I think sometimes that has to do with B2B and depends on who's the 800-pound gorilla in that relationship. Prone to making unwarranted personal attacks. I guess you've got to have a thick skin and say, listen, we're here to help you, but abusive language is not going to help. Overly talkative and lacking the will or ability to listen. All this stuff happens. Now, more happens with consumers than when it's business to business, I would say. So, customer service reps must use caution. And if you're angry, imagine you have to wait for 45 minutes on the phone. You're going to be angrier. And, I got to watch myself sometimes when I call an 800 number for an issue, so I'm not saying, I'm a professor of operations management and ran customer service operations at 2 Fortune 500 companies for the last 15 years of my industrial career. So I don't have, blah, blah, blah. If I start doing that, I'm going to get no place. I find as a customer, being nice gets you a lot further. And you can usually tell if the customer service rep has leeway to do things for you or their policies prevent them from doing it. And then arguing with the customer service rep over it is meaningless. Just ask to speak to their boss if you can. But I think customer service has improved. I've been kind of happy with it lately. I don't have big stories to complain. I used to complain about Comcast, my cable company. But they've had to get better because everybody's cutting the cable, and if they don't get better, they will lose all their customers. So customer service reps must use caution to diffuse each situation or keep, most companies would have a thing in a call center that if a customer is getting too belligerent, let me transfer you to my supervisor who can further help you with this. And then the supervisor will diffuse it, hopefully. So you want to get to the root cause of problems. This is key. Display an outward appearance of calmness and respect and maintain the highest standard of ethics when dealing with customers, especially challenging ones. And customer satisfaction. What's bad service? Long wait times, poor attitude, inexperienced personnel, prioritizing some customers over another. Employees that complain about the business. I mean, I want to call something and says, and hear the customer service rep tell me that they don't like working there. Well, geez, why do I even try to buy anything there? It's 6 to 7 times more expensive to gain a new customer than it is to keep an existing one. These are rules of thumb. 78% of the consumers have abandoned a transaction due to bad customer service experience. If I have trouble ordering something, I'm not going to order from that site anymore. Unhappy customers are highly unlikely to be repeat customers, as 89% of the customers report having stopped doing business with companies because of bad customer service. And guess what? If you have a bad customer service experience as a consumer, you don't just stop doing business. You tell everybody you know how awful the business was. People are twice as likely to talk about bad customer service than they are to talk about good experiences. So, $84 billion is the cost of bad customer service. I don't know how they estimated that in the U.S. And $338.5 billion is the same cost in the world. Legal and regulatory concerns. So you've got to abide by the laws. You just have to. So someone has to be in charge of compliance. So you have human rights and human right laws, food safety and food safety laws, hazardous products and material laws, and environmental laws. Whatever you do in terms of customer service and order processing has to adhere to that. Now, it's not that complicated, but if you're dealing with food safety, you've got to have some good standards. You've got to have clean trucks. If it's refrigerated, the refrigeration needs to work. Obviously, if you're doing hazmat, hazardous materials, the laws are more strict there. I don't have a lot of experience, except in personal care items. We had some aerosol products, and if a fire was to break out in the warehouse, aerosol cans turn into mini bombs. So we had to have fireproof room, and with almost ammunition type grade structure around it, so the walls would blow out if they had to, rather than create, have rigid walls where the explosion sends shrapnel everywhere. So you want to give the explosion a way to go outside the warehouse, if you possibly can, and not have anything be in the way of that explosion. So these are things that you've got to obviously pay attention to. So here's a summary of it. Customer service is a critical element within the supply chain. It's the order process. Listen, we talked about it in the first day of class. You have the order processing and fulfillment part. And then you have the product making part. The part that makes the right products in the right place at the right time. And then the part of the operations that actually fulfills all the orders. So it's a critical part. Companies exist. They live to sell things. They're products and services. So if you're not doing that, running that process the most efficient and effective way you possibly can, you're doing yourself a disservice. So that means you have to pay attention to your customers, what they want, and if you can be better than all your competitors, customers tend to want you. So if you want to watch some videos, they're probably a little bit dated, but they will still give you some background in customer service. But you're all consumers, so you all experience good service in retail stores, online, and you've all experienced bad customer service in retail stores and online. So you have some innate knowledge about this stuff. And let's leave it there. This concludes the links portion of this course. And thank you very much for your attention. That wasn't what I wanted to do.